Hey, everybody, this is Ian Westhoff, and welcome to the Toy Lines podcast. We got a great show for you today. We got Chris Fawcett talking about his book about Rad Plastic. If you're a Turtles fan, you're going to love it. Tom Romero's waiting backstage, so we're just going to throw on a theme song, and now we're going to start. Hey, Tom, how you doing?
All right, yourself.
All right. What's new with you in the world of toys?
Toy news. I actually attended the Toy Awards,
Guest of honor.
which will I wish. So we'll be talking about that later on today. But if anything, if you were a toy company with Grogu, you were a winner, just hands down. Lego was a big winner too. Now I think about it.
Have you been watching WandaVision?
Love it. WandaVision just keeps getting better and better, in my opinion. If you're not really a Marvel fanatic like us, might be hard to swallow for the average person. But if you're into it, like you're trying to gauge,
Do you think you need to be?
tough. Yeah, really tough.
I think
Because I'll be honest with you. I mean, and I know this is sounding dumb, but I'm loving the fact that she's starting to break down.
Right.
I mean, this girl, she's depressed, and she flat out told Pietro, she's like, everybody's gone. I was empty. Now, I'm maybe a sick person for like wanting to hear this story, but I'm invested. And I'll be honest with you, not only am I invested with her, but Vision has a great story as well.
Yeah. What's interesting is that they're able to do this type of story because it would never work in a movie. You wouldn't be able to get all this in 2 hours or whatever. But as a weekly show, you're able to capture all the stuff you want to say and spread out through so many episodes and say, okay, I want to have Pietro show up over here in this episode, so we can take our time leading up to it. We can hint at it. I think what's interesting is when the show first started, everybody, myself included, was like, "This show's weird." And then by I think episode 4, when it really starts explaining it, you kind of look back at it. So I think I'm glad I've watched it weekly. I'm glad that I did say I think it's going to be better for some to binge. I think it might work well for people. I think it's going to be pretty cool to binge later on.
Yeah, I can't wait to binge it all because like you said, the first 2 episodes are kind of weird, but I actually, for me personally, I think I get it. She wants a family.
Right.
In reality, she doesn't. She's alone. So she's basically, I don't know about testing the waters to see which family suits her, but I think she wants to live an adventure and live like a second life per se.
So you're thinking like
with Vision.
Each sitcom style sets out the family maybe that she'd want.
Exactly.
That's an interesting thought. I never thought of that. I was more along the lines of, where did she see these types of shows? How did was she maybe when she was during Civil War? Was she just like watching a lot of TV and she saw
maybe she had TV in Sokovia?
Yeah. I like the fact that as we get now deeper into the show, and like the newest episode has had a real 90s television intro.
Yeah, Malcolm in the Middle.
Okay, Malcolm in the Middle, and even like Clarissa Explains It All for Nickelodeon fans, and all these different like Full House that had feeling of all these different shows. I like how they were able to mix different show genres and styles of their song into that one song to give you an overall feel of it.
How hilarious was the 80s one when you see Vision growing up as a little child?
Yeah, the baby.
Yeah.
And the opening when they're painting the picture, just like Family Ties.
Right.
Um, and the sets are interesting too because I think the sets, even though they kind of like focus on that era, so like I hate the Brady Bunch, but we'll say the Brady Bunch, for example, it resembles the Brady Bunch set without copying it completely. It merges other things, and even with like the Family Ties episode, I felt like it kind of had that Family Ties look, but it had other things, maybe some growing pains was in there or other things like that. So it's really interesting how they're working all that together.
Right.
And then as far as the villain, I don't know. I don't have any guesses. I am actually hoping. So I was actually thinking this. This goes into what I was hoping. So she's got an extreme amount of power. Obviously. Where's Doctor Strange during all this? Now I'm hoping because he's going to show up in the end of it.
Right.
But if he sensed Loki appearing on Earth, wouldn't he sense this as well?
Probably.
Right? Like shouldn't
Maybe
he?
yeah. I mean,
Maybe
that's
that's
part of it, but
maybe he'll appear in the last episode. That's I was actually thinking when the episode with Pietro at the door. I was hoping it was going to be Doctor Strange.
no, I think it's too early for that. I
Yeah.
think Doctor Strange is going to come in to lead right into
Yes.
Multiverse of Madness.
And what did you think of the recast of Pietro when they had the X-Men version appear?
I think this is Feige's way of introducing the Fox characters now.
Okay.
I think this is his way of merging everything. Although there was one scene where when Wanda's talking to Pietro outside and she sees him and he's dead.
Yeah.
I think they should have used the MCU guy.
Right, because they show him in a brief moment getting shot. When he gets shot or whatever.
Exactly. They should have used him for that one scene.
Yeah, I liked him in the movie. I thought he was good from the MCU.
I liked how they used the kick-ass like Easter egg.
What was it? I mean, they say it and it
right. Okay, so believe it or not, if you're a fan of Mark Miller's Kick-Ass movie, the first kid that is actually kick-ass was Pietro in Age of Ultron. His best friend is this Fox Pietro. Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool. That came out of nowhere.
So the movie had two Quicksilvers.
Correct. So I thought that was a cool nod.
I think Paul Bettany's great as an actor.
Oh, wonderful.
And I expected out of him because he's good in everything. And he really plays the different eras they're in very well, and then the confusion of what the character's going through really well. And
this last episode where he actually breaks through,
that was
and he's trying to help people. I mean, that it's sad, but it was beautiful at the same time. I mean, he's literally getting torn off. Yeah. And he's like, "You need to save these people."
And I think also,
but here's an interesting. I don't mean to cut you off. Here's another interesting theory, and you can correct me if I'm wrong about this. I think Agnes instigated that on purpose. I don't think she got locked like some of the other people in Westview. I think she set that up just to draw that out of Vision. Because
well, and then in the episode before, it might have been the lead off where she said, like she was kind of worried.
She's the catalyst for pretty much everything in these past two episodes. Sparky's death.
Right.
And now she's, trying to get into Vision's head. She's like, "Are you an Avenger?"
Yeah.
And he had no idea.
Well, why didn't he? Because he was part of Endgame, so he was fighting with the Avengers. I mean,
right, but I think Wanda started him at episode 1 when she
Okay.
took back the body.
Okay. So it was like kind of like deleted, so to speak. Is
Exactly. Well, she never had a prequel per se. So
okay.
he's his life as the happy husband started at episode 1.
Okay.
But it's interesting how he's starting to piece together like something's really off. Like that episode where they almost
Right.
went at it. You
Yeah.
know, he was like, I'm scared. I don't know who I am before Westview.
Right. So, what do you think of Elizabeth Olsen's performance?
Oh my god, she's incredible.
She's great.
She has to win something.
I think it's great because she's playing from the beginning the 50s housewife and going into like an 80s style later on acting sitcom, um, and then she's balancing when the need appears, the grief or the drain of trying to like create this universe of Westview, and the toll is taken on her. And when she has to express as an actress express it, she does it very well. Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
I think
because she's starting to. Wanda is starting to realize that she might be wrong in this
mhm,
if she is doing it.
right.
She's starting to break down. I'm curious to see what happens to Billy and Tommy.
Right.
Because in the comics, they actually disintegrate before Young Avengers starts.
Interesting.
And that's how, that's when she really loses it, when the kids are taken.
That could be next week for we know this new episode because we only got like 3 left.
3.
Okay, so
And they're going to be 1 hour episodes each.
oh, they really? Okay,
Yes.
so we have a lot happening in the next 3 hours. That's going to eventually lead into Doctor Strange, whether she'll be
I mean,
she's good.
I love it when she left and all the guns were pointed
Oh,
at her.
okay. Right.
And then she's like, snap. And
And they're all switched.
everybody's, yeah. And then this obviously is the introduction to Photon, who will eventually become Captain Marvel and lead the Avengers.
Okay. The Rambo character.
Correct.
Right.
So that's going to be interesting to see how they do that, because that means, what's going to happen to Brie Larson.
Maybe I don't know.
Or she could be Photon for the rest of the MCU, so we don't know that part yet.
Yeah, and so much is not done yet. Like we have this,
Right, it's still young.
right, and I'm sure it's planned out. But then next we'll have Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then we'll finally get a movie eventually. And as they start to build to the next big villain, and
The trailer looked great, by the way.
Oh yeah,
the Super Bowl trailer.
And then that's the thing: who will the new villain be? Will it be the big big MCU villain? That's been a big debate. Like, will it be Doctor Doom? That's one version I heard. Will it be Krang? That's another one. Is that his name, Krang or Kang?
Kang.
Kang. Okay.
Yeah.
Will it be Kang? Will it be Galactus? Who knows?
Yeah, I'm just enjoying the ride at the moment. I'm just really more curious to see how this plays out.
Right.
As far as the Winter Soldier, I mean, it's probably just going to be about the government doesn't want Falcon to be the new Captain America. At least that's my take on it.
But also, I think it's going to be different than this because it's going to be an action show, and then it's also going to be like a buddy movie where they don't start out as buddies. Right. So like Lethal Weapon in the first one, they don't start out as friends. When they become partners, but it's a buddy movie. It's a buddy cop movie. So I think they're going to kind of like be like that. I think there's going to be a lot of them, like kind of not hating or hating each other or whatever in the beginning, because they kind of like did have that little rift between them when they first met, and rightfully so for everything. But it was like that scene where he's like, could you move your seat up? And he's like, no, like in the movie. So was that Civil War? So I think everything's going to work out. I think that's just going to be a good show. and Baron Zemo looks like he's back. So
Yeah, he's got the mask on now.
the mask. So I think that's going to be another great thing to look at. And that's when is that coming out? It's later
month.
on. Oh, next month. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, I got something to watch.
Yeah. Well, like I said, WandaVision, 3 more episodes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's these next couple of episodes are going to be really good. I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how she'll be in Doc Strange. I really liked that movie, and
honestly, I hope he saves her.
Yeah,
I don't want to see her being the big bad.
In the end, I think he will. But the thing, what I was thinking? So she volunteered to have this done to her,
right?
Originally, to get revenge on Stark. Could you consider her a mutant?
Well, they're saying now that the gem, the Infinity Stone, released her or activated hers and Pietro's mutant power. So it was always in there, just now it's exposed or come to fruition.
For her, I see, but Pietro, in theory, wasn't there because he wasn't there when with the Infinity Stone, right?
I have no idea. I mean, I thought the Infinity Stone was the reason for both of them.
Oh wait, you're right. Because they had one when they were at the end when they see the twins.
Right.
I was thinking me and my sister in that scene. But yeah, so a lot of pieces to the puzzle still to be put together.
And next week's going to be a great week because guess what?
What?
Ronin issue 2 finally.
Wednesday.
I cannot wait.
That's what I hate to say this, weather permitting, because storms are hitting the hell out of this country. You saw what happened in Texas with the ice.
I will be at that UPS warehouse to get my copy. I will rip open the box. There's no way. There's nothing stopping me this Wednesday.
Okay, so just be safe, everybody. When you get your comic, if it's raining or snowing by you, if you're not used to that kind of weather.
And speaking of which, did you happen to see this? This is awesome. Kevin Eastman recently texted this out. He said this was the original Ronin.
Really?
Back in the 80s. Yeah. I mean, he might be joking now, but it makes sense. It might have
been it's definitely got his art style to it, which is cool.
Well, it's his drawing.
Yeah. The gloves are interesting. Whatever is protecting his fingers, those are interesting drawing pieces.
Yeah, it's gonna be a T-shirt.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, from the Kevin Eastman studio.
Very cool.
And you know what? Speaking of turtles, is a great segue to show our interview with author Chris Fawcett and his new book, Rad Plastic. So with me is our special guest, Chris Fawcett, author of this incredible book, Rad Plastic. It's probably one of the most definitive visual pop culture books based on the turtles that you'll ever find. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. How are you doing?
Great. So the book's Rad Plastic. I was going through it last week, taking notes. I mean, this book is amazing. I mean, the stuff you've uncovered. Where did you get the idea for this book?
Well, I've been with a group that we made another book also called Engineering an Empire about the people behind the Kenner Star Wars line. And that was the first book that was put out like maybe a year and a half ago now. And we had started in the course of some of the research for that book, we'd started finding some people that had worked at Playmates as well and started uncovering some things from the Turtles line. And pretty soon it was pretty apparent that we had enough for a book. And at that point, I was thinking maybe 100 or 200 pages. And then as we continued research, we kept finding more and more and more and more. So it expanded and expanded and expanded until it became what you have in your hands now.
Wow. And some of the stuff is amazing what you've uncovered. I mean, there's stuff from Lucasfilm that was pitched, I guess, Playmates pitched them.
Yeah, they made a pitch to Lucasfilm. And I'm not sure if everybody knows, but back in 1996, when Lucasfilm was re-quoting, not quoting isn't the right word. They were letting toy companies pitch to get the license, right? They were renegotiating the license. That's the word I was looking for.
Okay.
Playmates was heavily involved in that, and they made a massive pitch to Lucasfilm around that time. Some of the prototypes of which have been discovered, and some of those you can see in a series of books called Toys Time Forgot by Blake Wright. That he just launched his third volume on Kickstarter, but I know some of the Playmates Star Wars stuff is in volume 2. So yeah, so they were already apparently at least in contact with Lucasfilm to pitch them ideas to try and get the license for Star Wars. And I guess, although I'm not sure, that was probably about the time they were saying, hey, we could do some crossover with Turtles or Indiana Jones, and we're pitching some of these other ideas as well.
Wow. Now, there is so much stuff in this book. I mean, I think it clocks in at 400 pages.
Yeah.
Now, this might be an outrageous question, but is there anything that didn't make it into the book?
Oh, sure. Lots of stuff. I mean, I had to pick and choose. There's stuff I found sort of too late to get in there. A few pieces that I would have loved to get in, but just it was already sent to the printer when I discovered some things. It's certainly, I have I had to choose. A lot of the book is the prototypes, and you'll see sculpts and hard copies and first shots and things like that. And if you don't know that terminology, then I explain it all in the book as well. But sometimes I would have all of those stages for a given figure, and I had to choose which one I wanted to put in and which ones to leave out. So there were lots of pictures of sculpts that didn't get in, lots of pictures of hard copies that didn't get in, just for space. I wanted to stick to about 400 pages because I felt like that was a pretty standard sort of size for a substantial coffee table book, and I didn't want it to get kind of ridiculous, like 3 inches thick or something crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, you self-published, so I'm sure that shipping had to take some account to it.
Yeah, and I wanted it to be at a price point that that most collectors could get at. If I doubled the size of it, it'd be $100 plus book, and I thought that would be probably pricing some people out of having it, and I didn't want to do that. I felt at $60, almost anybody who wanted a copy could figure out a way to get a copy at that price. So
exactly. I love the fact that it's not just a picture book, but there's also like some historical value and a lesson in the first 2 chapters. I mean, you literally shown how a figure is created in the first 2 chapters back in the 80s. Was that intentional or?
Yeah, well, I mean, the kind of book I wanted to make, which is really, it's not an encyclopedia. It's not a guide to the production. You can't open it up and match up which accessories you need to have with which figure. It's not that at all. I wanted an art book. And so in order to do that, I felt like people really wouldn't know what they were looking at if I just put out a book of, like, say it was just the yearly numbered chapters in here. People wouldn't really understand what it was they were looking at. So I knew I had to explain up front and walk everybody through the process in order to have an appreciation for the artistry that comes later. Because if you really don't get how it was made and like, oh, this thing is hand cast and hand painted, now all of a sudden your impression of the artistic value of it goes up because you realize how hands-on the process was and how it worked. And obviously most people not being in the toy industry don't know how that whole thing happens. So I thought it'd be good educationally, and then also to help you appreciate the rest of the book as well.
Now, you're a toy designer by trade, correct?
I used to be. I haven't done toys in probably 15 years, but yeah, early in my career, probably the first almost 20 years of my career, I did a lot of toy design. Not exclusively.
What have we seen?
Probably the one thing I could point to that you would know or maybe remember is I worked on a Fisher-Price line called Rescue Heroes, which was action figures based on like firemen and policemen and construction workers and stuff. It was sort of like a line about celebrating real life heroes. It was pretty popular. They had a cartoon for it at one point. It went, I don't know, many years. So I worked on the very first line of those. Other than that, it was a lot of like ride-on toys and playground equipment and things like that. So it would be, more a lot of preschool stuff. Like I did a lot of Fisher-Price work, making, the little Fisher-Price people. They're like their version of Weeble Wobble. They have a little round socket on the bottom, and they sit in all the vehicles. I did a lot of those kind of vehicles and play sets and things like that for them.
Cool. Now, you're referring to this book as like a pop culture art book. How has the community responded to the book?
Well, for the most part, I've it's all been positive. I really haven't seen anybody say much negative about it. I've had a few people that have said things like, "Oh, it would have been just a little bit better if you'd had that encyclopedia at the end." And my brain, I'm thinking like there was like 350
Oh, yeah.
or so like figures for the vintage line. That would have been like another 100 pages. Like it wasn't practical to put that in. So, but other than just little things like that, the response has been pretty great. I mean, I think people were surprised by it. And I was worried at first because I knew going out I'd only shown like 4 or 5 pages, and I tried to explain it, but I knew some people A wouldn't read the explanation, and B would maybe just glance over the images and hit buy thinking they were getting the encyclopedia type thing, especially because there was that Kickstarter book, that failed.
Right.
And people got ripped off like 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know when that was, but that maybe the instant thing people would hit their brain was this is like that. It's finally going to happen. And I was worried that people would think that. And then when they got it, be disappointed. But I think I've kind of found the opposite. People were like, oh, I thought it was more like encyclopedia. Oh my God, I didn't realize it was going to be this. And this is so much more amazing than encyclopedia. And I've learned so much, and seeing all the unreleased things is really interesting. So yeah, the feedback has been really positive. And the proof there is in how fast they're selling. I'm probably going to run out here in the next probably 30 days or so, honestly. So,
Wow,
if your
that's
viewers
great.
want to get one, there will likely be more available later in the year. But if you want one, like, in the near term, yeah, got to get in now, or you may have to wait till the fall. So,
Now, the book doesn't cover any NECA or Mondo turtles. Was that intentional, or did you get resistance from them?
no, I never wanted to do anything past what I call the vintage, which is basically 88 to 80 to 98. Um, and for a couple of reasons. Number one is because that's the eras that I'm most interested in toys, because the 80s and 90s are, 70s, 80s, and 90s are sort of my childhood.
Hmm.
Second, after about 2000, the way toys were made completely changed. You're getting into all the packaging design is done on a computer. The sculpting is starting to get done on computers. You don't have a lot of these artifacts anymore, at least not physical, tangible artifacts. They tend to be digital artifacts. So the idea of doing something for those later lines, the material that I'm showcasing really doesn't exist for those later
Wow.
lines. So, and the idea of highlighting this artistic process and it being an art book, and I'm not saying like, the modern way of doing sculpting in a computer is still art. Of course it is, right? But there's nothing really for me to take a photo of and show you in a book, right? It's a
Yeah.
digital thing on the screen. And I think it would be kind of a little bit dull to show a whole bunch of pages of these, in the screen, they're like gray, right? It's just gray
Hmm.
blob. It looks cool, but it's like, it would get a little boring rather than, a physical thing that I could take a photo of and do dynamic poses and things like that. So it was really like the content itself just lended itself to that old school way of doing things, and that pretty much ended around 2000. Now, there's still some companies out there doing it. Like I know Super 7 is
Hmm.
basically doing all old school sculpting in clay and wax, and they wanted to have that sort of old school way of doing it because that's kind of their brand almost, and that's really cool. But I don't know how NECA does theirs. So I'm not really that familiar. And probably the third thing is just in my line of research, all the people I was connecting with were from that era. And in order to
Gotcha.
start researching the later stuff, it's a whole completely different group of people, different era of people, would be a completely different path of research. And so, um, yeah, I was just focused on that because that was the ones I had early access to.
Yeah, besides the toys, one of the great features of this book is you actually have a whole bunch of concept drawings. One of my favorites was the police force. You had those, the Jim Lee figures,
Mm-hmm.
as well as there's a line, I believe, of Harley Davidson.
Yeah, they made two of those motorcycle figures. I think those were in 93 or 94. But there was a bunch of them that they didn't make, like a guy, a Western chopper, cowboy hat kind of guy on a Western chopper with a big handlebars up here, and
Right.
there was a cop on a police motorcycle in that line, and they didn't make those. And then like you said, there were some entire lines that weren't released, like that police line from like 1996, I
Right.
think. Um, Entire concepts of vehicles and figures that never went anywhere. And there was also a sports line late in the line, like 97, that had different sports turtles again, and Shredder as a referee, and that line just went to concept sketches and never went any farther with that. It looked like it was going to be pretty cool, but I don't think either of those lines ever even went to any kind of 3D stage. I think it's just concept sketches. So
Yeah, and even those are beautiful. The way they're drawn out, you wouldn't even think
yeah,
that was for a toy line.
yeah. Some of those, like especially the police ones, were really difficult because the material I had to work with was basically old faxes. Like, and
Oh wow!
you know how if you're familiar with old faxes, they fade over time. So
Right.
some of those I even had an artist re-ink them. I brought the sketch
Wow.
into Photoshop and punched it up as much as I could, and it looked pretty nasty. And I was like, we printed it out and had them re-ink them right over top to make as clean of an image as we could. So yeah, some of those were really tough to get in there because they were just so degraded over time because they were just on fax paper. Some of them I couldn't even pull out enough to get them into the book.
Wow.
So
I also love the fact that you covered the Takara Super Mutant line.
yeah, a little bit. So that line was released in the U.S. as well, though, but it was a slightly different scale in Japan, and I talked about it a little bit because it was developed in Japan, but it was released here. There are a few figures that were released in Japan that never made it to the U.S. I don't think I cover those at all, but it's part of that later lines where it was sort of dying down here, but the Japanese toy makers thought they could keep it going a little bit longer, so they were trying some new and different things, and I think Playmates just sort of latched on to their work because it was easy to do because they'd already done a lot of the design work, so it was cheaper for them to go, well, let's try this in the United States because half the work's done already.
Now, is it safe to say that there might be a volume 2 in the future?
Probably not exactly like this, but what I'm
Okay.
hoping is, early on, like in the first few pages, not the first few pages. It's like this page here, page 32, where we're looking at like,
Okay.
some these concept sketches here of characters that never made it. Like
Right.
there's a bear that's like a Russian bear. There's a crow and a yeti. And I found hundreds of those types of sketches. And
Oh
so
wow.
I'm hoping what to do is, if there's a volume 2, is to maybe do a book of completely unreleased concepts. So the stuff in here that I stuck to that's unreleased, it had
Mhm.
pretty much had to have one of a couple criteria for me to include it. Number one, it had to be, if it made it all the way to 3D, I included it. So if there was a sculpt, I
Oh,
included
okay.
it. Number two, if it was an unreleased version from a line that was released, even if it didn't make the sculpt, I would try to put that in. So like the giant April was, they released giant figures, but the April never came out. I don't
All right.
believe it ever went to a sculpt. And then the third one is like those ones we talked about where there was like an entire line that was planned that line didn't come out. But there are hundreds of concepts of just individual one-off characters, especially the earlier years where, they were doing those non-theme things. It was just, they were getting those early characters, Pandacon and Usagi and Walkabout and Sandstorm, these just sort of generic mutants. There are tons of concepts from that era where they just took various animals and made them into sketches, a wolf, a snail, an octopus, a raccoon, you name it, they probably did it. And so I have a lot of those sketches that I obviously couldn't fit because I probably have well over 100 of those. And
Wow.
so I would love to do a book of those sketches and even maybe have the original artist color them. So do like a modern coloring just to make it more interesting being in color. And, even though the sketch is a vintage sketch, and maybe do a book like that. So that would be, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I just have to see how this one sells and how it goes over the next year or so, and maybe I'll start thinking about doing that.
That's awesome. I mean, good luck with that.
Yeah, it would be more like
And
an 8.5 by 11, maybe 150 pages. It'd be quite a bit smaller than this, but
a fascinating thing. You have so many uncreated or unfulfilled toy lines. I'm actually thinking. I wonder if NECA or Super 7 is looking at this book and be like, "Hey, down the line, why don't we just actually make this figure? Like,
I've
there's,
heard that.
I'm sorry, there's the Forgotten Sewer line.
Mhm.
That line looks amazing. You have Splinter the Wizard, Michelangelo as a knight. I would love to see that in
Yeah. Well, I've heard that Super 7 has a book. Somebody at Super 7 bought one. I don't know who that is, but if they're watching this and want to contact me and I can get, other photos to help out with making a Super 7 version of Mike Knight, I think that'd be super cool. I I doubt that Playmates would ever go forward with making like a vintage style, you know, unreleased character like that. I mean, maybe they would. They've released some of those re-releases where they took those, but I believe a lot of the old molds still exist. So I think they're literally just pulling those out of mothballs and making some new figures. And so it doesn't cost them very much to release a pack of legacy type figures like that. Whereas tooling up a brand new one like Mike Knight would be a much more substantial investment. But I think it would be cool for somebody like Super 7 and NECA to do their take on it. Have it be, obviously it wouldn't look like the one in the book. Stylistically it'd be the same, but it'd be in the NECA style or the Super 7 style.
Exactly.
So I think that would be really cool to do so on some of these figures. So I don't know. Like I said, Super 7 I've heard has a copy, so we'll see if they have any interest in putting out something interesting from some of those unreleased lines.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Now, with your background and all your research, you've pretty much seen every turtle concept. What would you like to see if Super 7 came to you and was like, "Hey, Chris, what turtle would you like?"
The Chris Fawcett signature edition turtle.
Yes.
Well, what I want. That's a good question. I would say, well, so I will go back to this. I think out of all the things that I've seen, and especially of the unreleased stuff, I think my absolute favorite is the Spellcaster Splinter.
Yeah.
So if I had to pick one, I'd be like, that'd be the one. I'd love to have like a NECA version of that and a Super 7 version. I was a Lord of the Rings fan since like grade school. So that's
awesome.
like, that's probably the franchise that I can point to that I've been in love with the longest. So that figure looks so much like Gandalf. I mean, it's clearly influenced by Gandalf. And so the fact that it's I've loved that series for so long. I think that'd be one. And I love the sculpt. That's one of the best sculpts, I think, of the entire line. It's a shame it didn't get made. It's the most dynamic sculpting I've ever seen for an action figure, I think. At least of that era.
Now, we know somewhat about the Mattel not going forward with it, but with some of these concepts, why do you feel they never went through?
Well, so the ones that made it pretty far along, like the Warriors of the Forgotten Sewer ones, or maybe even the unreleased Jim Lee, those would generally be a result of the response they got at Toy Fair. So they would take these to Toy Fair, and when they went to Toy Fair with the Warriors of the Forgotten Sewer, let's use that as an example. They had the 4 released ones there. They also had the Wizard and the Mike Knight and the Tiger. Those were all there being shown about. There's photos in some old toy magazines from Toy Fair showing that whole line on display at Toy Fair. So, but then what happens is the Toy Fair, the whole goal is to have the buyers from the retailers come through and look at everything and go, well, what are we going to order? What do we like? So they kind of get a feel for what the buyers want. So what happened with those, I believe, is that there was enough interest, they decided to go forward, but there wasn't so much interest that they wanted to make an investment to 8 figures in a line. So they pared it down to 4 and probably said, let's see how the first 4 go. And look, we'll be all set to go with year 2 of these for next year if indeed they sell really well. And they put them out there, and they probably sold mediocre or maybe poorly, who knows, but obviously not well enough to go forward with a second series in the second year. So when I first found these, I thought they were like planned second series, second year releases, but the more I researched, I don't believe that was the case. I think they were originally planning to do all of them in the first year and pared the line down due to probably mediocre, but not totally terrible interest at Toy Fair. So something like, the sports ones or the police ones, those are probably just really early designs where they're like fleshing out ideas for the year, and they know they're going to pick 3 lines for that year, but they've got 8 ideas. and that's just a process of whittling them down, and that's why some of those never even make it to sculpting, because they were discarded for other options very early in the process as they were starting to try and figure out what they wanted to do.
Gotcha. So the book is Rad Plastic and is available right now. But apparently copies are going fast. So log on to radplastic.com, and here's some interesting history on it and a sneak preview. And then if you log on, you have two options. So all you international fans that want a copy, you can log on and actually get a quote.
Yeah, the international shipping is quite expensive, unfortunately, and because the book is over £5. Anything international over £4, the shipping just ratchets up very quickly. So I hope to have some European and maybe elsewhere, maybe Asia Pacific distribution later this year, but we'll just have to see how that goes. So I'm pretty sure it's going to happen, but I'm not entirely sure of what areas. So I would say Europe is fairly likely.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, the book is Rad Plastic. Thank you, Mr. Chris Fawcett, for being on the show. I look forward to more work from you in the future, and you're always welcome to come back. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah. It's been fun. I've liked talking to everybody I've been able to talk to recently, and whether it's just people making comments online or like some of these interviews I've done, it's always fun.
Awesome. And then where can people see you on social media if they want to follow you?
On Facebook, probably go to join the TMNT Prototype Collectors page. On there, you can find, I'm the admin of that. I'm also the admin of the Vintage TMNT Collectors page. So you can find me there, or just search my name on Facebook, you'll find me. And then on Instagram, chris.fawcett. And I'm not on Twitter, so I just decided to pretty much avoid that lately. So
yeah, I don't blame you.
So Instagram is really where a better platform for showing photos of this stuff anyway. So it seems like the place I should be. So you can find me there. I'm posting stuff, like I'm doing a series now where I'm like taking close-up photos of everything,
cool.
like a real close-up of the headshot almost, rather than the ones in the book are all almost full body. So I get more detail, a little bit different artistic take on things. So you can see some of the ones in the book and sort of that style of photography on my Instagram page. So I've been posting those about once a day here. Just random stuff, whatever I decide to take a photo of that day.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hope everybody enjoys the book.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know I did. I mean, my co-host Ian's dying to get this tome from me. So, yeah. I mean, it's beautiful. I love the cover. I mean, from cover to cover, it's a fantastic book. I even love the little engine in the back there.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to my designer, Chance Anderson. He knocked it out of the park. The cover concept is completely 100% his idea. And then, most of the internal pages, a lot of the design work there was his concepts. So I give him a ton of credit for the visual style of the book.
Awesome. Yeah. So the book is Rad Plastic. Go to radplastic.com and order your copy right now. They're going fast. So thank you again to Chris Fawcett, and hopefully we'll see you again sometime.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you for Chris Fawcett for that great interview. If you're having doubts, log on to radplastic.com. Order yourself a copy if you're a Turtles fan. Every Turtles fan should own this. There is a section, I know he mentioned it, but there is a section where there was a line of medieval turtles. Beautiful. I don't know how this never saw retail. Beautiful. There's a wizard splinter. Gorgeous. If you're a Turtles fan, this is the book for you. I know they have a lot of stuff right now, but make sure you learn your history, folks. Okay, so
news.
Let's get into some news.
Yeah.
So, coming out of Mattel, I was very excited to see this. The Masters of the Universe Hot Wheels 5-pack. The mini collection features 5 1/64th scale vehicles with realistic detail and authentic deco. recognizable as He-Man, Skeletor, Man-at-Arms, Beastman, and Teela.
I gotta say, I'm not a Matchbox Hot Wheels kind of guy, but I like these. These are really cool looking.
Yeah.
Now, is that box? Is that a collector's case? That the castle on it, or is that just?
I think it's just a box.
Do they come all 5 together?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought they were sold separately.
Nope. The 5-car set is right now at pre-order from Big Bad Toy Store.
These are pretty cool. Like when you look at Man-at-Arms,
he's the best one. I like trucks.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think of the Turtle Wagon, and then Beastman looks good, and He-Man's very. I would say they're all identifiable as per the character, with the exception of, is that supposed to be Teela?
Yes.
Okay, that's like the only one that's like looks like a normal car in a way, and it's not an insult to the line because it's a great toy. It's a great piece of work, but I guess it's because of the character design and how to interpret that into a car.
I remember there was a He-Man set where it was He-Man. There were actually really nice cars. It was a He-Man versus Skeletor car. Didn't look anything like it. I think it was a gray car with the Masters logo on it. And they would race down this track, and it would actually jump at a part. It was either...
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Yeah, I had it. I loved it.
And it might crash in midair.
Something like that.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. So that was fun, but these look really nice. I mean, like I said, it really looks like the character themselves, which is okay, I guess, but
I think that's the point of it. Like,
I think they should have designed kind of like the Teela car. I would have liked to see like a really interesting design, like in the spirit of, like, I mean, technically these are the spirit of, but I mean, you can actually see that this is the He-Man car because it's got a blonde top, it's got the Iron Cross,
right?
But I would like to see like a. So I'm challenging you, Hot Wheels folks. Give me a really beautiful looking car. Just slap a Masters logo on it.
Well, what the difference is that I like is that they sell some cars where it's just like whatever type of car it is with the sticker on it, and like I said, I'm not a toy car guy, but I like these, and Disney has been selling toy cars like this for a long time. They did a Peter Pan one, an Indiana Jones one, and if you look these up online, you'll see that the design of the car represents the spirit of the character, the way he looks, and that's what I like about these. To me, like slapping the Star Wars logo on a Matchbox of, I don't know, a pickup is like, it's just a pickup at a paint job. But when they make it look like Darth Vader somehow, which is actually one of the cars Disney did, they did it really.
So you like that it looks like?
Oh yeah, they did this really sweet Boba Fett one. It was like it was so cool. So yeah, I like to see the character in the car. I think that's cool.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. It's funny. One of the Build-A-Figures, or not Build-A-Figures, one of the Lego builds or construction toy that won. Guess what it was?
Car?
The Razor Crest.
Of course.
From Lego.
Wow,
I'm telling you, the big winner was Mandalorian this year at the Toy Awards. Masters of the Universe Origins pre-orders are now up, and the new wave will include Faker, Webstore, Green Goddess, Lords of Power Beastman, and the deluxe figure will be Buzzsaw Hordak. Now, they're also coming out with version 2 of Evil Lyn, and the vehicle for this wave will be the Wind Raider. Now, as a He-Man fan, I'm actually kind of curious to see what they do with this Evil Lyn. Now, the original one, which did come out, had that yellowish skin that looked like the vintage figure. Mm-hmm. Now, version 2 Evil Lyn, I am curious to see, is she going to have a removable helmet? Is she not going to have a helmet? Or are we just going to see her white hair along her pale skin? So I am kind of curious to see what they do with this. Unfortunately, with the Origins line, even though I'm a He-Man fan, I am picking and choosing through this. I'm saving everything for Masterverse, which, by the way, people have started to see the actual figures.
Really?
I don't have any pictures right now, but I have heard through the grapevine that there are pictures out there now. So,
Do you think they were
hopefully soon.
leaked or officially let out?
The people I've talked to they've seen them. These are official pictures.
Cool.
Well, they're not the pictures we're going to see.
Right.
So I shouldn't call them official, but they're out there. People have seen them. So I'm really hyped up for Masterverse. I'm hyped up for Revelations, which reminds me, this past Monday, Kevin Smith released part of the score for Masters of the Universe Revelations, the new He-Man show coming out of Netflix. So he only released the score for the transformation sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Like I said, Ian was with me. We did a quick People of Eternia, which, by the way, is now on all platforms. So look out for it. Beautiful sounding. I mean, it was incredible. However, Bear McCreary has done work for The Walking Dead, some big shows. So I'm really hoping they're not going to price themselves out, because there is a very big all-star cast for this show, which is great, but I'd rather see a great show like that goes like 5 years down the line, maybe more, God willing. So thank you for Kevin Smith for sharing that. Unfortunately, we can't share it here because YouTube will throw us off. So just listen to People of Eternia. It's on all podcasting platforms. Listen to a quick episode. You can get your snippet. Or if you want, you can even see it here on YouTube. So congratulations to Todd McFarlane, who won the People's Choice Awards at the Toy Awards this week for his Kickstarter Spawn. He was the People's Choice winner. So that was incredible. And then he also did, see if I got the picture. Here we go. He also recently did a virtual presentation with online retailers. And this picture was leaked from that retail conversation. It includes the Cowboy Spawn, which we've yet to see, and the Redeemer with angel wings. Now, I don't know if this is a brand new Redeemer, because I have seen the Redeemer figure like this. He did like an all children's line. This is what it reminds me of, except with the feathered wings. Now, if you've been following up on your Spawn comics, the Redeemer actually turned into the, not Grim Reaper, but he's now known as the Reaper. So that figure I would like to see, the Reaper. Now, Cowboy Spawn, he's the new popular one this year, so it's great seeing him as a figure. So who knows what we'll see down the line. And I'm sorry.
I'll say when you're done.
No, and Todd's been hinting at his next Kickstarter, Medieval Spawn. Mm-hmm. So I can't wait for that.
One thing about the Reaper, don't fear him. Sorry,
he's actually a cool design. Like I'm a sucker for guys without faces, like just like that.
Shadowy face hood kind of thing.
Yeah, it looks like a helmet, kind of like a more shapely Cobra Commander, if you think about it. Okay. Yeah, it's not silver, but so let's talk about the Toy Fair Toy Awards. So congratulations to everybody that won. The big winners were Lego. Anything that was Grogu won. Mattel, Hasbro. Lego was a huge winner. I know I keep saying that, but remember that piano?
Oh, build?
Yeah. That was a winner.
I don't see how that could not be. I mean, they played music.
Yeah. Their Super Mario set,
that was
big
cool.
winner. Yeah. And obviously, of course, our beloved spaceship that got blown up from the Mandalorian, the Razor Crest, that also won. Todd McFarlane, again, won the People's Choice Award. So I didn't see that coming. But here's what kind of is unsettling with me about these Choice Awards. Really nothing for collectors. Now, I understand toys are for children. I get that. And trust me, Scott has always been saying we are a very finite group in the big scope of things.
I would kind of like to know the percentage of, if there's a way to figure it out, toy sales between kids and collectors. What the percentage is. If that was like I know it's a tough thing to figure out, but I would love to know that, what the difference is.
Email Scott. I'm sure he'll tell you.
I mean, I'm sure the industries have done something like that to try to figure it out, like based on sales,
And since we're on the topic, if you want a PhD in toys, find Spectre Creative on YouTube. He's got 1 million videos right now. Some of them are He-Man based, which is great. I love his insider commentary on the classics collection, but he brings a great insight into toys. So if you're inclined, check out Spectre Creative. You'll get a PhD in toy manufacturing to all the way through marketing. It really is a great show, great program. And also, I'm just going to throw this out for Scott because he has been plugging us as well. If you have a toy idea, look to Spectre Creative. The man is a genius. He doesn't get a lot of credit for what he's done in the toy industry, which is a shame, but he really has done a lot. So if you're inclined, if you have an idea, look to Spectre Creative. So G.I. Joe Classified Wave 1 is coming back, but with new deco.
Look at the bling on Destro.
Oh, yeah, he's pimp. Well, actually, he's only silver, so he's yet to be pimp.
What's interesting is that if you look at in the middle, that's Duke.
Yeah.
Looks like Dolph Lundgren. But and you look at Snake Eyes, a lot of these toys have that built-in articulation in like the midsection nowadays.
Yeah, the ab crunch.
Yeah, well, like you can do poses with them, or stop motion or whatever. It's a feature I've been noticing more and more on toys.
Yeah, I mean, more articulation. That's what collectors want nowadays. More detail, articulation. And it all started from McFarlane, if you really think about it. He was the first one that was like detail, more deco. I was listening to an interview with him recently when he was at an Image meeting and he brought the first Spawn figure. And he was like, listen, I'm doing something that no other toy store is doing. I'm actually adding an extra 5 cents for more paint, for more deco. I'm adding this and that. And I mean, he was a pioneer. I mean, look what it's spawned right now.
Good point.
So Wave 1 will have new deco and will include Duke Scarlet Roadblock with new deco. And then Snake Eyes and Destro will be the same versions. Each figure will retail at $22.99, and they will come with the same accessories as Wave 1. So
nice box.
Yeah, I noticed that. This is like another new trend that we're seeing, not so much the
ballistic
window.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so the boxes are really coming in, especially from Hasbro, I've noticed.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. Jazzware has just announced a UFC figures for pre-order at Ringside Collectibles. And this wave will include Conor McGregor, George Masvidal, Amanda Nunes, I'm going to mess this up, Francis Ngannou, Israel Adesanya, Uriah Faber, and it will also include a Chase variant. So that's pretty cool. I mean, if you're a UFC fan,
Yeah.
It's always good to get new people in, especially on collector's lines.
Yeah.
So Hasbro just had their fan first Friday, and they are not stopping with the Power Rangers. So Super 7 has their Power Rangers, which we'll get into, and Hasbro's just full strong with the Lightning collection. And this will include Black Space Ranger, the SPD Green Ranger, and the Lost Galaxy Blue Ranger. And a Tango Warrior from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 90s movie.
That is very 90s looking, actually.
Really? You think?
Yeah. Not like the work on it, but like how that character looked. That's a 90s look. At least I don't know. At least I think so.
Interesting. And then Super 7 also released their first looks at the Reaction Megazord. So Brian loves that overseas stuff. And the box looks reminiscent of it. I mean, you could see he poured his heart and soul into just the packaging.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to be like able to sit in a meeting that they do when they got the license and what they're going to do and look and package and all that. I bet you they're really interesting.
Yeah. Hopefully one day, once COVID is done.
Yes, please, soon.
They also have released images of the Red Power Ranger Reaction and the Green Power Ranger Reaction. Both figures are available at Super 7 for $20 each.
And I'm not a Power Ranger guy, but again, it's the reaction figures. They look cool. Something about that line just brings me back to I know why, it's because of Star Wars, but it's that childhood feeling. The word reaction looks like the Kenner lettering. Of course, the card and just the figure design makes me feel like a kid again.
You're going to love this, Ian. Super 7 has
ready to
released their reaction of the Creature from the Black Lagoon Silver Screen Edition.
Now, I'm going to interrupt momentarily, as usual. I love this movie. He is my favorite classic Universal monster, even though he was created about 20 years later. And he is just like, it's a beautiful look for a movie creature and for a toy. Just the scales, everything.
I really like the packaging too.
Yeah, it's almost like an aquarium or something, like a fish tank. And I don't think it's brought up enough. The way the creature looks should always be remembered that a lady named Millicent Patrick designed it. And of course, this was in the 50s, and there wasn't the women's equality, and she really got shunned. First, they started having her promoted, but she really got the short end of the stick on this one. That she created this incredibly familiar creature. If you look at this, you know exactly what he is, what movie. And Millicent Patrick, I feel, doesn't get enough credit. So if you want to read about her, check out the book, The Lady from the Black Lagoon. It'll tell you all about her career and what happened with this. But yeah, Creech, love him.
More from Super 7 Reaction. The lead singer of Motorhead, Lemmy, reaction figure is now available. The Ace of Spade himself can now be on your shelf.
Nice.
WonderCon just announced that this year it will be a virtual con for 2 days. And they also said, which was kind of sad, they're running out of money. So who knows what's up in the air for San Diego? Probably another virtual con. I don't think this summer is going to be ready.
Yeah, like when we were speaking with Blake, he was saying still too early. He's thinking And because even as the vaccine rolls out, getting it in everybody's arms is going to probably take a while. So it might be another year before we can actually attend a convention.
Possibly, although PowerCon is still hopeful we're all getting together this year.
Yeah, and hopefully so. That'll be the one that kind of like launches it off.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
More power to PowerCon.
Yeah. So I just want to give a special plug to our friends Rob McCallum and Jay Bartlett. Action Figure Adventure, the Blu-ray, is available now for pre-order at Big Bad Toy Store.
I just want to say I love the logo of them in the car, like hanging out of the car.
Yeah, that's from Mask.
Yeah, it's just great.
This is a wonderful movie. I can actually say I've been in a movie with Kevin Smith now.
There you go.
Thanks to Rob.
And I can actually say I have 6 degrees of Kevin Smith now.
There you go.
Because I know you.
So help support Action Figure Adventure. It's a great movie. It's basically about a toy collector doing something wonderful for children. So Jay Bartlett is putting his mouth where his money is. He's putting up $5,000 for a children's charity. And him and Rob go across the country, even in Canada, so they're international, buying all these rare collectibles and having one huge auction at the end, and all the proceeds go to a great cause. But during their trip, you find out what makes a collector. Rob is magnificent at interviewing people, and you find out why people collect, why people play with action figures, why people love action figures. This is a great movie. I'm very fortunate enough to be a part of it. I'm so happy that I am. So go on to Big Bad Toy Store, order your copy, and tell Netflix about it too. If you want to see it for free,
yeah,
tell Netflix, hey, I want to see this great documentary by Rob McCallum. So
and hopefully
good luck to them.
They'll put his other stuff on there as well.
Well, Power of Grayskull's on it. You can see Missing Mom on Amazon Prime, along with box art or video box art.
Okay.
That one's actually excellent. If you're a gamer, I highly suggest renting it or purchasing it if you want. But it really, there's a lot going into video games.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a great documentary. Please support Action Figure Adventure. Now, check this out. There is going to be an adult animated Scooby-Doo prequel at HBO Max, which focuses on the origin of Velma. Now, she will be voiced by the Facts of Life, Mindy Kaling.
She's actually been voicing her for a while.
Yes. Now, all right. You know how I feel about prequels. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see where my characters came from. I want to see where they're going. Okay. I've seen a pup named Scooby-Doo, so I already know where she came from. I don't need the adult version of it.
How adult are they going to make this thing?
Well, I thought an adult or more mature version was Mystery Incorporated. That was a great show. I wish they continued it. And I mean, it was a little twisted, I'll admit, at the end. I mean, there was a scene where Scooby actually thought he was going to die.
Oh.
Yeah. And he showed, I mean, you could see the fear in the dog's face. He was like, this is it. Yeah. Ruh-roh. But do we really need a even more mature?
Why choose her for the character, I wonder? Why not Fred or Daphne? I mean, Shaggy's just, I don't even bother doing a prequel with him. They kind of did that in one of his movies anyway. One of the kind of direct-to-cable video movies where he meets Scooby first and then they all get together. This was after the...
Yeah, I saw that. I wasn't...
Yeah, so like, it's an interesting choice of character.
Yeah, I thought they could have done a better origin story too. Like, I really liked a pup named Scooby-Doo. You know, I don't think they needed to rehash that, but that's why I don't work for HBO Max, I guess.
I just think it's mean that they called one of the dogs Scooby Dumb. That did nothing for her self-confidence.
No, but it is kind of funny.
Just because he's dumb.
You know what else I can't... Now that, I mean, it's a weird conversation, but now that we're on the topic, what is with the hate for Scrappy Doo? Why does everybody hate Scrappy Doo?
Actually, and that's funny. I just read something, and they were talking about when a show just about ended, and it's the same thing with Cousin Oliver in the Brady Bunch. He was in it for like 6 episodes, and then the show went off the air, got canceled. And there's a lot of hate towards Cousin Oliver. It's like that whole like jumping the shark kind of thing.
Right.
And Scrappy Doo came in at a time that pretty much Scooby-Doo is kind of losing momentum, I think. And he's kind of like this obnoxious little tough guy who's, you know, where Scooby is.
He was a baby.
Well, Scooby's, and I don't even like Scooby-Doo, but Scooby's like, he's scared, and somehow he helps solve the mystery by being scared and clumsy.
Right.
But like Scrappy's ready to pick a fight with everybody. He doesn't even give her a rat's. You know,
he's like, a badass.
I don't care if I'm 2 feet tall. I'll take that Doberman on or whatever. And I think he just needs to chill a little.
But that comes with youth. I mean, when let's face it, when we're all like 5 years old, there's kids that think they can fly like Superman when they're 5. So
yeah.
So I mean, it's just the curse of youth. You know, that's how I see Scrappy. But I don't dislike the character. I thought he can. Like when I saw him be the villain in that first live action movie, I was like, "What? This is ridiculous."
So that ruined your childhood, didn't it?
Well, no.
I just hate that phrase.
No, there's other things that I could say ruined my childhood, but no, the Scrappy Scooby thing doesn't really.
It would have been a better twist. Put Scooby Dumb as a villain. And
right.
I'm not so dumb after all, am I?
Yeah.
And he kicks Scrappy to the side.
So, I have some great news. Clone High just got picked up for 2 seasons on HBO Max. The show, created by Chris Miller and Phil Lord, from not only the Lego movie, but the first iteration of the Solo feature film, and Bill Lawrence from Scrubs. Now, I don't know if you've seen this on MTV. This was a fantastic show.
All right, so I got a question.
Okay.
It's Kennedy, JFK. Looks like Cleopatra.
Correct.
Abe Lincoln.
Yep.
Gandhi on the end, right?
Well,
all right.
Let's get into that.
Okay, so I have a question about the other girl I don't know who, Joan of Arc?
Joan of Arc, yes.
Oh, I thought she was just some goth girl or something.
Well, she is. Well,
but it's Joan of Arc.
In the 90s, she was a goth girl.
Oh, okay, so they kind of
Joan
put
of
him in
Arc.
Okay. So what's the deal with, is it Gandhi or no?
All right. So when this was shown on MTV, every Gandhi follower or Buddha or whatever religion, I don't mean to insult anyone,
right,
they took it as a great offense that they cloned Gandhi. And let's face it, in the show, Gandhi had ADD. He had, real teenage issues. So now, from what I understand, they're going to retcon it, and he's going to be the clone of Gary Coleman from Different Strokes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that yet. I mean, look, I don't want to offend anybody. I have no problem with it. If they want to call him Gary Coleman, that's great.
Well, they had Gary Coleman in Avenue Q.
So. Yeah, and he even had his own animated series.
Yeah, that's true.
So that doesn't bother me. I am very happy to see Clone High coming back because it did end on a cliffhanger at the prom. So this was a great show. I highly suggest going back. It's on iTunes right now. So do yourself a favor, Wesley. Watch this show. And if you were a Clone High fan, you would have gotten that reference. So Mezco is coming out with a Mike Myers figure from
Saturday Night Live,
from their MDS figure or MDS series. So this mega scale figure, or
with sound.
let's just call it a doll. I'm sorry, but it's a doll.
It looks like
it's Mike Myers from Halloween 2. It comes with 6 phrases, 11 points of articulation, and a butcher knife, all for the low price of $98.
What phrase? He doesn't speak though, so there's somebody else saying it. Like Michael Myers never talks. If I have my horror movie knowledge correct,
he comes with 6 phrases.
I would like to see something from Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, with the silver shamrock. Those 3 masks, and they had that song like 3 more days to Halloween.
You know what? NECA did something similar.
Yeah, that's the way to go, because this makes me think. I look at this and I'm looking at a baby in a diaper with a Michael Myers mask on, and I don't really like these like doll type toys.
You got to be a hardcore fan, I guess.
To appreciate it and to buy it. If you're like, anything Halloween, you're a completist. This is what you're going to get.
Exactly. And then Mezco Toys also announced this month will be Mezco's Toy Fair. Since we don't have an official one, they'll be releasing, pictures and stuff to come throughout the year. It will take place February 20th through the 22nd. And let's face it, I'm really hyped up to see what they have for the 112 collection.
So also Hasbro is making... Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
Oh, Hasbro is making an animated version of the board game Clue.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought...
That's all right.
Sorry, folks. I'm still new with this.
So... if you remember correctly, there's a great movie from the live-action version from 1985. Had a great cast, and Tim Curry literally stole that movie. Kind of interested to see what this animated version will be like. And there was also a comic book from IDW a while ago.
Really?
Yeah, I never read it, but I remember them looking on the IDW website, and they made a comic. I don't know how it played out, but that was something they did. So
the movie was so good.
Oh, the movie's excellent. I love that movie. I mean, you had your cast. You had Madeline Kahn as Mrs. White, Christopher Lloyd as Professor Plum, Michael McKean as Mr. Green, Martin Mull as Colonel Mustard, Leslie Ann Warren as Miss Scarlet, and Eileen Brennan as Mrs. Peacock. And again, while they're all great,
even the ending, it was like a choose your own adventure.
Endings. Yeah, there's 3 different endings, and Tim Curry stole that movie with all the dialogue he has to do. Just so many lines that you can quote from that movie, and he was just brilliant in it. So I kind of feel like they have a tough thing to go up against, but I could be wrong. But I don't think I am.
Well, the bar is high. Let's just leave it at that.
The bar is very high. It's like pole vaulting? That's how high the bar is.
Right? I guess this is Hasbro's way of introducing a new generation. Yeah, they just want to sell games,
Sure.
But hey, I'm all for, animators getting work.
Yeah, anything that keeps the economy going and gives me something to look at. That's good for everybody. So also, a very interesting thing, Ty, I wanted to get into.
Now I can do this.
Now you can do this. So, are we on the same page here with what I'm about to talk about?
I hope so, right? Star Wars and their sales?
Yes. So, last Monday, Hasbro came out that Star Wars toy sales in 2020 were up 70%, despite there not being a new movie. And this is really interesting to me because at the moment we have The Mandalorian. And everybody's a fan of it. We love it. Hasbro also said their overall licensed content. So I guess this means pretty much everything else Hasbro licenses. their sales fell 12% in 2020, Tom, to a measly $1.08 billion.
Oh, is that all?
I'd be crushed. But Star Wars itself was up by 70%. And this is what I get at, because this is when I read this and I talked to you about it, I was really interested because we're in a Star Wars less movie world right now, for good or not. I don't know.
This is the reason right here.
This is the way. But it goes to more than that. Is it the cute factor? Because yeah, he's adorable, and I just want to pinch his fat little green cheeks. But at the end of the day, are people buying it because The Mandalorian is such a well-written show? Is it because it's making people feel like old school Star Wars? When the prequels came out, the first prequel, there was so much merchandise, and there was so much left over in the end. I'm sure they took a beating on it. And when you think about merchandising, or just think about how Lucas was wise enough, and probably didn't even know it at the time, to have all the rights to merchandising, because he really made his money. And even in Batman '89, Jack Nicholson made sure to get points from the merchandising, which made him even more money.
Well, of course, that's where all the real money is. I mean,
but the thing is,
who is I'm blanking out. He directed Batman '89 and Beetlejuice. Tim Burton,
right?
He went into a board meeting and said, "Well, we need to sell such and such figures, so you need to adapt your movie to this vision." Well, how crazy is that?
Well, that's not actually crazy at all, because when you look what Disney did to The Rocketeer, they see it as, okay, this is our big summer movie, and we're going to make a ton of merchandise off of it and make money off of the merchandise. They're not even in it for the movie, not in it for the legacy of what this character represented. And it was more about the merchandise. And the movie didn't perform to our expectations, but it performed well. It made back its budget. But they were like, no, pack it up. They took all the merchandise, shipped it out west, dollar stores and whatnot. And, like, studios seem to think that it's the merchandise that makes the movie. But I think it's in the other case, it's the movie that makes the merchandise. But in order for the movie to do so, you have to have a movie that somebody's going to latch onto. You need to have a good story. You need to have something that the audience invests in. Because if I'm looking at 2 hours of garbage, I'm not invested in it, and I'm not investing my money in a toy line either.
Exactly.
And I think that's what happened with this, is that people.
Let me ask you this now. All right, so you have a movie, you're going to have a toy line with it. Now, do you think the geniuses that are producing said toy line are going to somehow hurt the movie?
I don't think there's anything wrong with making a toy line for a movie.
Right, but if the focus is solely directed onto the toy line.
Well, let's put it this. So before Star Wars, movies didn't make much merchandise. Jaws was one of the first summer blockbusters, and it had some merchandise. When Star Wars came along and he was talking to Fox, Lucas was like, all right, what about the toys? And really was unheard of at the time. And they're like, yeah, go ahead, George. Take your merchandise rights. Nobody expected it to blow up the way it did, the movie or the toys.
Right.
But ever since then,
but what I'm saying
they
is
want that.
But what I'm saying is there is so much focus on the toy line. Does it hurt the movie? Like, let's say there is this incredible idea that the filmmakers want to do, but the toy manufacturers are like, no, because kids might not associate with it, or mom and pop might be scared of it. Does that hurt a movie?
I think what hurts the movie, I think I might have an answer. I think what hurts the movie is when a franchise has been out for so long, and the toy sellers say, for instance, the last 2 live action turtle movies, the turtles look so different, and they were like, we need something different to sell. So make the turtles look different. And I think when you're going around making changes to your script or putting in stupid, silly, goofy gadgets in order to sell them, that's where you're going to hurt a movie based off of trying to make toy sales. And I've never done any research on this, but I think that I think it makes sense. At least to me, it does.
Right.
You know, like,
that's what I was getting at. So
yeah.
you are saying, so the toy people are actually possibly hurting a movie.
Sometimes
that could be a lot bigger.
No matter what, they're going to try to make toys off of anything.
Right.
Especially nowadays. But
I mean, which is good, because if you really love something or something really appeals to you, on screen, you want a memento or memorabilia from it.
And honestly, it's hard to tell what toy line or film will be successful. You can't predict it. Nobody knew about Star Wars.
Yeah, but even like not so successful movies that have a toy line. I mean, people love everything.
Well,
it's the amount of people that love it that determine whether or not it's a success or not.
That's a good point, because like Raiders, The Lost Ark, love the movie, excellent movie, and the toy line, Indiana Jones toy lines. When you think about it, you had Kenner's Raiders. I guess it did so. You had LJN's Temple of Doom, which really never appeared. Nothing for Last Crusade in the States, and then with the fourth disaster, there was toys for that, but I believe they overreached on that one. But I mean, I have been known to make mistakes from time to time, so that's all I got.
Great point, great insight.
Thank you.
So I want to thank once again Chris Fawcett for being on the show. Rad Plastic is the book. Head over to his website, order your copy today if you love turtles. I mean, look how great this stuff is. Like, he even has parts of the mechanisms that went into Playmate figures.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, this is awesome. This is a great collector's item for any Turtles fan. So I want to say a thank you to Brian Salvatore for our intro and outro music. #collectors helping collectors. If you're looking for something, let's beat the bots. Let's beat the scalpers. Log on or find them on Twitter, Collectors Helping Collectors. Thank you to Scott Nylick over at Spectre Creative. He's helping us grow this little show we have. So thank you, Scott. We are now on YouTube, so you can find us on Toy Podcast. Please subscribe, hit that bell, and especially tell a friend if they love toys. Join the conversation at toyspodcast@gmail.com. We are on Apple, iHeart, and all your favorite podcast platforms. Please subscribe, give us a rating, or do both. Please enjoy our newest podcast, Rocketeer Radio, hosted by our own Rocketeer expert, Ian Westhoff.
Thank you.
It's a great show. If you love The Rocketeer, this is the show for you. I yet to see or hear any better shows. And then, I have a side project. I'm doing my little People of Eternity.
If there's anybody who loves He-Man more than Tommy, they don't exist. So this is...
I know, that's debatable.
This is Tommy's, like, this is your heart and soul. This is your passion right here. So,
it is.
Folks, I know, like, he has told me a lot of the things that he's doing, and he really wants to get that history that couldn't make it into documentaries or books. He wants that stuff. He wants to collect that story. So you're a He-Man fan, you're a toy fan.
Thank you.
Just listen to it. He has great interviews. So,
and along that lines, I'm just going to throw out this hint of a special guest that's coming. Oh. I don't know who that is.
What is that?
Somebody made a book.
Can you do that again? Did I blink and miss it?
Maybe. I don't know. Who is this person?
Okay, I got it.
I know it's not Val Staples. So for all the latest toy reviews, please log on to www.toy-lines.com. If you like what you see here and are inclined to do so, please support us. get our Toy Lines t-shirt. And for you Rocketeer fans, there's also a Rocketeer t-shirt as well. So you can log on to teespring.com/toylines, no hyphen, /store /store-2. I don't know why we're trying to shorten it. Follow us on all the social media platforms at Twitter and Instagram at Toylines. And Facebook, you can find us on 2 names, Toy Shelf Magazine or Toylines. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Please continue to come back every week. We really appreciate it. I'm Tom Romero.
Me and Westhoff.
Thank you to Chris Fawcett. Play with your toys!